I'm working with Castor, doing some desensitizing. So he's standing pretty well against the fence gate. He just has a little bit of struggle with me standing behind the withers. We've worked on a lot of him targeting with his face and his neck and his shoulder, and I didn't want to do a lot of targeting with my hands further behind there because I didn't want him pushing his withers or his belly or his hindquarters into me and then kind of making it a dangerous situation. Just because he is wild, I'm not saying that all hip targets are, but that's just what I want to do with him. So right now, all I'm doing is having him stand parallel to the fence, and I'm just rewarding him for being in this position while I talk off, where you can't see off camera here. But um, uh, he's got to be rewarded at a high rate for standing in the correct position. So he's a little off. He's got his hindquarters out to the side. I'm not super worried about that right now. The parallel and the straightness is going to come with time. Um, so it's not the biggest deal. So if I was further along with him, yes, I would make sure he was better, but I'm not too worried about it now. And then I'm just going to start with little baby steps. So I'm just like right behind the withers, I'm going to click and then come back immediately and feed him because I don't want him moving around because he's uncomfortable or because he's looking for that food and I haven't come back and fed him fast enough. So that's really important. I want to just momentarily, I'm standing there, click, and I immediately come back up. Even if he's still chewing, I'm just going to wait by his head here because I don't want him to get in the habit of turning, coming off the fence and trying to get the food. So here a little bit further, click, and then go ahead and come back up. And that was the part where he struggled with was me being back here. Oh, that was very nice. He got a little closer to the fence. But he looks nice and relaxed. His body language looks great. His neck is horizontal. Here he wants to move a little bit, but then he decided not to. So that's good. He's kind of moving his hindquarters around a little bit, but not too bad. So it was important, like I was talking, obviously, also, but it was important that I got him comfortable and rewarded him highly for standing next to the fence first before I started moving, because that's going to add that another element to it, and then there could be confusion. So if he's got all this motivation, like oh he gets all these treats and rewards while he stands in this one position, he's more likely to stay while I change things up a little bit because he doesn't have a stay cue, and I didn't have him stand and target a cone or stand on a mat, which I should have, which would probably make this whole thing easier. Um, that was really important was just him connecting him standing there to good things. So you can do it in this way. You could do it with a cone or a mat. I think that would be easier. It really depends on your horse because you might have a cone in front of the horse, like up on a stick, or you might have a target on a inside a cone, and that might make them a little claustrophobic if they're standing next to the fence, and or they might be afraid to put their feet on a mat. So that just kind of just it depends. Really, my goal with Atlas here was to get, and that's all right. He just spooked. That's the greatest example of why protective contact is good. Probably not the greatest, but it is good for my purposes here. He didn't try to run me over or anything, but he we were both safe, and then I could reward him for coming back calmly. And it was just my husband was walking by and I was walking by, and it was just a lot for him. But the purpose for Castor here is to get him gentled to where I can lead him and give him his shots and do his feet and do all those care things. So that's why part of the reason why I didn't do the mat. And you can see here the whole time I've been talking about other things, I'm just gradually working my way further and further back toward his hindquarters. And now I'm like almost by his tail. And I'm gonna stand there. And I probably shouldn't stand there quite as long as I did then. Just that pause for a second and then move forward. And then you can increase that amount of time throughout your training sessions. But so my goal was to do the care procedures as quickly as possible. So I didn't take the time to train standing in the target or train standing on a mat. That was one part. And the other part was that I knew of those things, but I didn't know that they would connect to the standing at the gate. So it was a couple of things there. Like I didn't see the opportunity in doing it, or I would have probably done it. So that's kind of up to you. It'd probably make your job a little bit easier. So I've got my hand out here. I'm going to try to work on his other side. And the camera is not the best. Um, it's at a strange angle, and it'll be like that. It just kind of, it shows you what it is that I was looking for. It was kind of hard with having it on top. So he's got his side pass over pretty well. So he moves over really nicely to that on this direction. So I just had him try and follow my hand there and just get him lined up again. Because the easiest thing I found here was that I could kind of straighten him and then ask him to side pass over versus just asking from the side because that side pass wasn't super solid yet. So that was what I was asking him for there. I was just trying to line him up as straight as I could get him before having him stand there. And then once he's in this really good position, which he's almost completely parallel here, again, I'm just reinforcing him standing there in that position because I didn't have a target or a mat. And then I'll start over and I'll go ahead and start going toward his withers, and it's going to be a little bit different for him because of his hip positioning. So that's why I didn't just immediately go back to the hindquarters. I started kind of slow. We went to the neck, to the hips, or to the shoulders, to the belly, and then back to the hips. And it's because he's much closer to the fence now. So he's in a different body position. So you want to make sure and that you're going through all the steps and that everything is good because I could have just went right to the hindquarters at this point and he could have been really worried and then you might not have noticed that position and be wondering why he was doing that. But he took that all in stride. That looks great. Again, I'm going to try and set him up here. So kind of trying to make a nice arc, straighten him out. He didn't quite get it there. He's a little far, but I'm just having him follow my hand. He knows how to follow my hand as a target. That's a decent side pass. And I think since I didn't school the side pass toward me a ton, there's only like a couple clips of it. I think that all that targeting I did really helped and connected those things. And I think that's why it was so fast for him. It's not like that for every horse, and I was kind of confused by that, but I think that's why. But this was really nice. He's very parallel here. So it looks like it's transferring to the other side fairly well. Sometimes certain things don't, but this seems like it is. Um, so we're going to do the same exact thing. I'm just going to have him stand in the spot that I want, and I'm just feeding it over and over. Unfortunately, the GoPro can't be everywhere, so it's kind of cut off his face, but I wanted to show the positioning and where he was at, and even though that part is cut off, but he is just eating hay from my hand. I'm just rewarding him for standing in that spot, and then I'm going to start again. So I'm just going to step back by the shoulders and then repeat the session here. So if Castor wasn't so confident and quick to just kind of sad pass up to the gate going this other direction on his right side, I would have started off just like I did on the left side and just been okay with that further position of his body or just his hip angle and did some desensitizing from there. And just letting him have that space so then he doesn't feel like I'm really close to him. So I just wanted to kind of talk about that because this one I kind of skipped because he was really confident in doing it. I was like, I think he'll be fine. Again, I did do the baby steps. I didn't just think, okay, he did it on the left side, so of course he's going to be fine on the right and just go right to his hindquarters because that's not usually how that works. But he's doing quite well. Really, once I really communicated to him what it is that I wanted instead of just getting mad and we were both on different pages. He didn't know that he wanted that I wanted him to stand still, and that's why he was offering me other things once I go behind his withers, and he was also fearful. So instead of getting mad, we just broke it down and I tried to communicate it to him better, and that's where that him standing still came in. If I hadn't been as clear as I was in the beginning of this is the position that I wanted him to be in, we've still been very confused and he probably would have been moving a lot more. So just really important to know what you want, know the steps to train it, and then correctly show your horse those steps and then build on them. That's basically the whole thing is if you could do that, then you could pretty much do anything. So I'm trying to get the camera figured out here and at a somewhat decent angle, um, and just work on this a little bit. He's picked this up quite quickly, so I'm pretty happy with that. And then we can start working on like doing some desensitizing on his actual body, like touching behind the withers and working on some of that stuff because I need to start like brushing legs, petting legs, working on getting those prepared to be lifted and picked out and all that stuff. So we got a long ways to go here, but this is a good first step to where I can start moving around him and make sure that he's comfortable with me and then kind of go from there. So I'm just going to repeat this a little bit. And he's kind of shuffled a bit, but Overall decent. Like he kind of lost it a little bit here, and then he's like showing me the wrong answer. I'm like, no. So I'm just gonna show him the correct answer, have him follow my hand, and then put him back where I want. So he's kind of just reverting back to that first position he was at when I was on his left side, and that's probably because a little bit both of I probably worked a little bit more on that left side, and that was just the first part that he remembered, so we kind of went back to that. So no big deal. Just go ahead and work from there. And he's a little off center. He's not super straight, but not too bad. I don't really care. I just want to work on just a few more good repetitions. But it is important, like I do have electric fence here. The fence is off, and that I don't go like too far past the gate, and I don't want to accidentally hit the fence and have the rope move, or if I would like let it leave it on, that would have been bad. We don't want any of those things at this point in the beginning. I don't want anything to scare him and make this an uncomfortable experience. I want everything to be positive, especially in the beginning, because he's not resilient yet. He's learning everything, it's new. I want him to be confident with the training. So that was a really good session. I think he did really well. I'm going to give him a jackpot. So I'm just going to give him the rest of the hay I have here in my bag and call it a day.